Good morning. I'm going to just wait a second. It looks like people are getting signed in. So I'm going to wait until we get all of the attendees. In the meantime, I'll do an audio check. If you can hear me speaking, please raise your hand. That will be helpful for me. Great. Thank you. And you can go ahead and lower your hands. Looks like the numbers have slowed down a little bit, so we will go ahead and get started. Welcome and thank you for attending this stakeholder meeting for the State Board of Pharmacy via webinar. Today is August 5th, 2022, and the time is 11:01 a.m. Before we get started, we would like to introduce the staff members from the Division of Professions and Occupations that are present. My name is Darcy Magnuson, and I'm a regulatory analyst with the division. Also attending is Dimitri Kunin, Senior Program Director, and Elena Kemp, Regulatory Coordinator. Due to concerns regarding COVID-19, the division has transitioned to a platform that is 100% virtual, and we appreciate your flexibility. As many of you have been to DORA stakeholder meetings before, we would like to reiterate the importance of your comments today. DORA makes decisions every day that may affect your life and your business, so your input is vital in the rulemaking process. Throughout this process, our goal is to create regulations that clarify and explain legislation, ensure minimum competency to enter and continue to practice, and provide only what is absolutely necessary for consumer protection without creating unnecessary barriers to the marketplace. The purpose of this stakeholder meeting is to discuss multiple proposed revisions to the board's rules based on recommendations from stakeholders and the implementation of new legislation. The rule revisions recommended by stakeholders include third-party logistics providers, reporting violations, Rule 17, collaborative pharmacy agreements, Appendix C, statewide protocol for pre-exposure and post-exposure prophylaxis of HIV, Appendix A, statewide protocol for prescribing hormonal contraceptive patches and oral contraceptives, and the Colorado Self-Screening Contraception Risk Assessment Questionnaire to include vaginal rings and depomedroxyprogesterone acetate, DPMA, and Appendix E, a newly proposed statewide protocol for statin therapy. The rule revisions proposed to implement new legislation regard the following bills: Colorado Senate Bills 22116, 22173, 22027, and 22098, as well as Colorado House Bills 221235, 221246, 221326, 221115, and 221122. I know that's a laundry list, but if you have any concerns or questions about the list, since we didn't go into the titles of each bill, all of the bills and the proposed rule language are posted on the board's website under the public notices tab in case you want to reference those after or during this meeting. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the board's website by the close of business on Monday. As this stakeholder meeting is held solely by webinar, please raise your hand using the hand icon if you would like to speak, and we will unmute your line so you'll be heard by everyone. Or you can type your comment in the question section and we will read it aloud. Before we start taking comments, we ask that anyone providing comments please state your name and the name of the organization you represent, if any. Feel free to provide either general comments on the rule changes or specific comments on the proposed language. Please limit your comments to no more than 3 to 5 minutes and try not to repeat something that was already said. Stating you're in full agreement with someone else works just fine and will be noted. If you're using the audio through your computer, please remember to put any phones on vibrate or turn them off. And whether you are using computer or phone audio, try to keep background noises to a minimum. So before we jump into comments, just to provide you a little bit more information about the process. So I recognize some names that are familiar in this process and know why we're here and where we're at. This has been an ongoing stakeholder engagement process since earlier in the year. And so this is for some of these rules, this is the second or third time that we're asking for feedback from stakeholders. You likely recall that we had a stakeholder meeting earlier this summer, and the board has reviewed these proposed changes multiple times, including at its meeting in May, and then as legislation was signed by the governor, the board reviewed the proposed changes at its meeting in July. So at this point in time, we're asking for additional feedback from stakeholders before this gets presented to the board at its permanent rulemaking hearing, which is scheduled for September 29th. So wanted to give you that heads up. And we will just start, Elena, if you can go back to the first rule, we'll call for stakeholder feedback rule by rule. If we need to jump back and forth, we can. We just want to make sure that we go through all of the rules. And Dimitri Kunin, who all of you know as well, please jump in as you would like, Dimitri. So the first one, 3.00, dispensing. Any comments regarding those proposed changes? And as a reminder, you can submit written comments either through the Q&A function or feature of the webinar or the chat function, and then we will read those out loud for members who are maybe participating by phone and also for the recording. Okay, I don't see anyone, Elena, so I think we can move on. And like I said, we can go back if we need to. Okay, the next one is 4.0030, and that's Senate Bill 22116, which includes changes to the Occupational Credential Portability Program. Okay, I think we can move on, Elena. Okay, next, Rule 5.00.19 regarding Senate Bill 21094. Okay, next is 7.00.10, clarification regarding reporting requirements for pharmacist managers. Next is Rule 14.00.05, which is the implementation of Senate Bill 22173 concerning the operations of telepharmacies. And I believe, Dimitri, this is one that you wanted to discuss.
Yeah, I just wanted to provide some clarification from the last meeting if there was any confusion. I think it's easiest to walk through the actual bill. So before we go through the rules, yeah, if we could just walk through the bill really quick. So going in order of the changes made, and I'll let you know when to stop. So other outlets, so telepharmacies have been defined as other outlets. So the first thing the bill did was strike through that piece. It's coming up just a moment. Keep keep on going. Yep, so right there, telepharmacy outlet is no longer under other outlets, and then go ahead and keep on going. And I'm not going over every change, so go ahead and stop right there. I should go up a little bit. Yep, so now a telepharmacy outlet means a remote pharmacy site that is registered as, and the term others taken out, it's registered as a prescription drug outlet or pharmacy under this article. And then go ahead and scroll down to the next page. It talks about some requirements in terms of area of need, and then go ahead and stop right there. And then the board may adopt rules to specify additional criteria necessary to facilitate the operation of telepharmacy outlets. So additional is specifying that in addition to PDO requirements, these rule requirements, or A through G, give telepharmacy outlets, which have been abbreviated as TPDOs, additional criteria. But outside of these pieces where the board has authority for rulemaking, everything else remains equal as prescription drug outlets. So there's other pieces of the bill, I didn't want to spend too much time on to be respectful of everybody's time, but I wanted to provide that clarification if there was any confusion from the last stakeholder meeting that telepharmacy prescription drug outlets sit essentially equal to and under prescription drug outlets aside or in addition with these specific rules. So now as we transition, Elena, to looking at the actual rules, they're not specifically listed out as A through G, but they do touch on each of these where necessary. So we can go ahead and scroll through those. And yeah, yep, keep going. So that we'll probably come back to the grander Rule 31 of telepharmacy outlets. These pieces just clean up telepharmacy. So unless we want to do it all together, Elena, to keep it succinct. Yeah, so we might as well just go ahead and touch on that. Yep.
Dimitri, are you okay if we take comments now, or did you have anything else to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to walk through that in case there was any confusion last meeting. So any other comments? Yep, you can take.
Emily Zadborny, you're unmuted.
Great, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Emily Zadborny, I represent the Colorado Pharmacists Society. Just wanted to thank Dimitri for the clarification. I think that's helpful. I just wanted to reiterate that we still support our written comments from the last stakeholders meeting. I probably don't need to go over those. We submitted those in writing. The one I would point out, I think, is under 31.02.00, just surrounding the practice of pharmacy and who can do that. I'll wait till you get there. Staffing and training. Yeah, that one right there. Only a Colorado licensed pharmacist, intern, or tech may engage in the practice of pharmacy. We just had some of our membership feel that that might be broad language that's allowing technicians or interns to engage in the full practice of pharmacy. So we had submitted just some language last time to just say as permitted by their scope of practice. So all personnel engaged in the practice of pharmacy shall be adequately trained to, as applicable to practice setting, and then we inserted and as permitted by their scope of practice. Just to kind of qualify that there was no concern, this gave broader authority to practice outside. But that was one thing that was in our written comments that we submitted that we still wanted to support with this round. But that's it for that section. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay. In the interest of time, I think we can go ahead and move on. Oh, I see, Emily, your hand is raised again. I've unmuted you.
I apologize. And again, I don't want to like reiterate things since we've already submitted it. But since we might be moving on from section 31, we just wanted to voice our perspective that we feel like a central pharmacy should only oversee a maximum of 2 telepharmacies, and that the ratio of technicians in all combined, whether it's the central pharmacy or the telepharmacies, that they do not oversee any more than the current ratio of 6:1 that's in statute already. Thank you.
Thank you. Elena, are you trying to add that comment in? Or were you, I was just wondering why you're going backwards.
Well, we are actually at the end of the draft rules, right before the appendices start. So I was just going to go back up to, we were ending with, because Rule 14 and 31 both concern Senate Bill 22-173. So just so we don't skip over any other rules, I was going to go back up because we skipped a significant portion of the rules in the middle. Okay, so this is where we left off.
Okay. So Rule 16.00.10, and that's House Bill 22-1235 regarding the veterinary sunset legislation. Any comments here? Okay. I think we can move on. Rule 17, collaborative pharmacy practice. I guess I was not on, I was on mute. House Bill 221246, Rule 25. And I think we covered this one regarding telepharmacies. And finally, Appendix A, Rebecca Kennett. You are unmuted.
Hi, I'm sorry, did I do it right? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, Rebecca Kinnett from Albertsons and Safeway. Couple comments on this one. I see there's already a comment about emergency contraception. I'd like to point out that the other benefit, particularly in this climate where we need to improve access, is being able to bill insurance. If it's, this is the first comment there, KE1. If we can have pharmacists prescribe it. However, I believe the statewide protocol already allows this because it's a condition not required, or the Practice Act, my mistake there, because it is a condition not requiring a diagnosis. So it might be fine to keep it out of this protocol, might be easier.
Okay, thank you.
And also, I believe Colorado has a law for over-the-counter products to be prescribed. And then secondly, there's another comment below about depot medroxyprogesterone. I absolutely recommend removing intramuscular from that definition number 5, as the sub-Q version must be administered by a healthcare provider. So with intramuscular listed there, it would not be permitted to be even prescribed. It wouldn't make sense.
This is Elena. And I just wanted to make sure that I am capturing your comments, and
Yeah.
also encourage people to, stakeholders to submit written comments as well, because then we can go
Sure.
back and forth.
I can do that.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I got the second portion. You suggested that there shouldn't.
For emergency contraception, it's already permitted to be prescribed in Colorado based on a couple other authorities, I would say. So it doesn't necessarily need to be in this, although it would be nice to highlight it everywhere we can. That's my understanding. Why don't I email you so that you have it and we can go back and forth. And then the second one is definition number 5 there. I definitely support that comment. Just to strike the word intramuscular from the definition would cover it. And that's it for this section.
Thank you. Emily Zadvorny, you are unmuted.
Hi, thank you. Emily Zadvorny with the Colorado Pharmacists Society. Yep, just backing up again to that same section that Rebecca just weighed in on. We would absolutely support the inclusion of emergency contraception. And I think this gets to both comments from Rebecca. Yes, we could do that already by scope of practice. The billing situation is such in Colorado that Medicaid will only reimburse for things under statewide protocols. And so that would be the reason to add it here to ensure that billing mechanism, because I don't think usually in the appendices we add language about allowing reimbursement. That's just in other places of statute. But so long story short, yes, we would absolutely support wording about including emergency contraception, and then absolutely concur with striking the intramuscular injection part as well. Just striking the word intramuscular. And then there's a part under the next page I was just going to quickly weigh in on too, which is under number 3, just right below that. Yep. Previous comment that we had around scheduling the appointments. I think we would be in favor of just striking A. There's not precedence in other statewide protocols to talk about requirements of scheduling an appointment. So I think to be consistent with other statewide protocols, we don't need to comment on that, and leave that up to the businesses to figure out the best way to provide access to those services. And that's it for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we did receive a written comment from an anonymous attendee. Why is intramuscular not allowed for depot? Emily Zadvorny, you are unmuted.
I think that question might be better addressed to Rebecca, but my understanding is that it can be administered intramuscular or subcutaneously. So our comments were more surrounding just taking the specificity out of that and leaving it as a general injection.
Okay, thank you. Rebecca Kennett, you are unmuted.
Yep, just want to agree with that. I think it should remove the word intramuscular, and there are 2 different formulations, and intramuscular could be administered by a patient, but not the sub-Q. So we need it to not specify one if we want them to be allowed to do it.
Thank you. Rebecca Kennett, I have unmuted you.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be to have my hand raised.
Okay, sorry about that. I will go ahead and place you back on mute. Okay. Okay, Appendix C, and I have a raised hand. Deep Eid, you are unmuted.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Dee Beed, representing CVS Health. Just wanted to say great work on the language here after taking a look at this. It's really exciting to see that Colorado is moving forward with expanding to including other types of contraception like, rings and depot injections. One question that I did have for clarification is under Section 1, talking about completing the self-screening risk assessment questionnaire. I know it doesn't specify anything in here, but there's some companies and different organizations out there who take the self-risk screening assessments and make them into like an electronic version, or some companies will have kind of like a customized version of that. Under this current protocol, would those types of self-assessments be acceptable, or does it have to be a specific self-assessment questionnaire that is provided here beneath, which I see that you do have some of those underneath? Just a question for clarification there.
Okay, Dimitri, I don't know if you can answer that, or if we want to, I have another raised hand, so.
Darcy, I think you can go ahead with the other raised hands. There's most likely going to be, it'll be talked about or addressed from others.
Okay.
Or from other stakeholders.
Okay, Rebecca Kennett, you are unmuted.
Thank you. So I was on Appendix C with my comments. I have just two. First, at the very beginning, paragraph 2 mentions following 2 guidelines, and it says the CDC and the USPSTF guidelines there. I just want to make sure, I know it's nitpicky, but I want to make sure that it's like it to say and or that way when the guidelines don't quite match or one is updated before the other, as we see sometimes, there's some flexibility there to follow 1 or 2 of these gold standard guidelines. To just change it to and or whatever language is appropriate. You got it. My other comment, and I don't really know where this would fit, but I'd like to recommend some language that allows for same-day start. And possibly, maybe down on the page 186 would be a good spot to put this comment. Where the labs are mentioned. Yeah, just right there. So for I put it myself there with that first bullet. So you need the test at baseline, and then I would say I'd like to see same day start called out as being allowed. Thank you.
Okay.
This is Elena. I just wanted to clarify that that would be another bullet. So you're suggesting to add another bullet underneath this first requirement that tests need to be done at baseline?
Sure, that would be fine. I don't know where it best fits, but I'm suggesting that we call out that pharmacists are permitted to do same-day start prep. And then once labs are received, adjust if needed.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Appendix E, Rebecca Kennett, you are unmuted.
Sorry, my comment was above on page 192. On the lab section, right there. It says all efforts should be made to obtain a negative HIV test at baseline. However, the sooner PEP is initiated, the more effective it is. It would be wonderful if we could clearly state that if the patient refuses the baseline HIV test, PEP may still be initiated. I think it's implied here, but it'd be nice to say it. If patient refuses baseline HIV test, PEP may still be initiated.
All right, I'm gonna, Emily Zadvorny, you are unmuted.
Yeah, hi, thank you. This is actually just a question back at Rebecca. I'm assuming that that is guideline based, that because I'm not the therapy expert here, that you can initiate PEP without a negative HIV test. And I'm asking that because we want to make sure everything in here is guideline based and not outside of the guidelines. Thank you.
Yes, I will look and see if that's written in guidelines. I know it aligns with other states, though. It's clearly stated that way in at least California. And I believe some other states that are pending, but let me check for you, because I think California did do some outside guidelines, but clinically sound decisions. And I know that's not what you do here. So I'll check and get back to you.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for entertaining me, guys. That's the last comment I have for today, at least planned.
Great, thank you. All right, Appendix E. And while Elena continues to scroll, we'll monitor, but I'll go ahead and start to wrap up in the interest of time. I think that we are close to the end. So thank you for participating in the stakeholder meeting today. All comments and recommendations will be provided to the State Board of Pharmacy for review and consideration before the permanent rulemaking hearing, which is tentatively scheduled for September 29th, 2022. Please remember that you can always submit written comments up until the date of the hearing. The sooner the better, though, so we can get the information before the board in advance of the hearing. But you can also testify at the hearing on September 29th to provide your final testimony regarding these proposed changes before the board begins its deliberation. And those comments can be sent to Dora_DPO_rulemaking@state.co.us. That's the email address that is listed on the notice for today's meeting, and that's where all comments regarding rules should be sent. So I don't see any other raised hands, and no other written comments have come in. So at this point in time, we are going to conclude this stakeholder meeting and end the webinar.